This is your basic oscilloscope. Do not panic. It is a simple device for measuring voltage, just like the multimeter. However, the multimeter is made for measuring a fixed frequency of AC or DC, and it can't really handle really fast signals like you'll be measuring with the oscilloscope. The oscilloscope, like I said, it measures voltage coming through this wire. Goes in here to the slot marked channel 1, and all of these knobs have to do with channel 1. They're for adjusting the various properties of channel 1. And here you see a graph of the voltage as a function of time. So voltage, time. Well, let's say it's way too big for me to look at, like that. Well, if I need to shorten it down, then I can turn this knob and switch the scale. Now, I don't know if you can see it on the movie, but there are these little boxes, and there's a marking on the knob which tells you how many volts each one counts for. So you can tell how much voltage there is by counting the boxes. So you start off from the line and okay, there are 2 boxes, and it says down here there are 5 volts per box, so this thing has an amplitude of 5 volts. Over here is the time scale. This is important for when your waveform is a little bit too fast or too slow. So I'm going to change it and make it too slow. Alright, so you can't even see the thing. It's moving way too slow. So I changed the time scale so that I can actually see the thing. There it's a straight line, so I haven't gone far enough. I need a sine wave. Okay, there's a sine wave. Now you can see that this is way too bright. Be careful that you never leave it too bright. And so the same principle that I told you about adjusting the scale for the voltage applies to the time. There are boxes across here, and I look on the knob here and it says there is 1 millisecond per box. So I count the wavelength or the frequency. No, the period. This is the period. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 milliseconds. You can do on your pocket calculator, figure out how many hertz that is.
Okay, so to recap, here is the front of an oscilloscope. It has a lot of buttons and is very intimidating. However, it is also very straightforward to use. So, let's take a look at the buttons in a little bit greater detail. Here are the channel 1 knobs. At the top, there is the position and then the scale knobs. Channel 2 is similar, but you will only be using channel 1. The time scale knobs over to the right. And up and to the left is the intensity knob. Be careful that you do not burn a hole in the screen. And last but not least, the power button. So here is a little bit about how an oscilloscope actually works. Labeled 2 is an electron gun, which shoots an electron beam labeled 3 through a focusing magnet labeled 4. The voltages you are trying to measure are applied across the plates 1 and 1. The voltage pushes or pulls the electron beam, and in that way you can find out what the voltage is actually doing, because every change in voltage will be reflected by the electron beam going up or down, C5. And here is a display of the electron beam moving very slowly across the screen. You can see that what the oscilloscope actually gives you is a dot that represents where the voltage is at any given time.
This is the function generator, which gives you your current, your voltage, which goes through your wires and into your oscilloscope. It has a similar assortment of knobs. Again, do not panic. It has 2 knobs here for adjusting the frequency. One of them is very coarse, so it adjusts it very quickly, and one of them is very fine, it adjusts it very slowly. So if you look at this one, you can see that the frequency of the voltage is increasing and decreasing quite nicely. Very quickly though, kind of not very delicate. So if you want to make a slight adjustment, use the other knob, and you can see that it adjusts very nice and slow. Okay, so you can play around with these however you like, however you need to when the time comes for you to change the frequency. It displays what frequency it's putting out here to very, very high precision. So you don't need to measure the frequency of your signal. You can just read it out. All right, here are knobs for telling which frequency range you want. If you want to adjust the frequency by a whole lot, you push one of these. So let's go to a really high frequency. There, you can see it's going gonzo. All right, is that a terrible anachronism? Anyway, over here you have the shape buttons. You can change the shape of your curve if you feel so inclined. It's a fun thing to play with. There we have a square wave, which if you can only see the square tops. Here's a ramp wave. Sine wave. Okay. Those are all the buttons you really need to know. And just be careful that you connect this stuff in correctly into the oscilloscope, and you're done.